This is part 3 of the Aboriginal project. So before we apply the dots, we talk about, different ways that you can apply the dots. They look at the original Aboriginal paintings and get some ideas, but it's also convenient and helpful for them to see what other kids have done. And we talk about how you should probably pick like maybe 3 or 4 more colors to do dots, but you don't want to have more than 6 colors of paint. And I really try and enforce this from the very beginning in the first project, the Zentangle Landscape, that variety is good, but too much variety makes for chaos and makes your brain want to explode and not look at artwork. So we talk about what makes this really good variety, but also not too chaotic. And a lot of the kids are really smart and they say, oh, well look at this part right here. They're repeating the same outline with the dots, only one color. So that gives some nice repetition that makes your eye look at that part and really see it. And then also they say, look, they've got all of these red dots that kind of create this frame in the background. So just some different things that they could do for the dots. A lot of kids like to outline and concentric outline different parts of their artwork with dots. A lot of kids like to do dots in dots. A lot of them like to enhance the line details with dots. So there's lots of different things that they can do. This one's kind of cool because it's the same idea repeated again and again. They've got the blue environmental shape with the purple dots, and they've repeated that across the artwork. So just give them some ideas, because some of them, it's a hard time for them to get their own idea going. And I demonstrate on my own piece again. Today's going to be a little different because I set out all the paint and the water and the brushes because some kids are absent or need more time to do the line part. And that's totally fine. I say if you finish the line part, you can start on your dots right away. But I have a paper plate at every table. And then I have a bowl of Q-tips. And usually I don't put this many out. I only put out a handful at a time. And you will see why if you have a hand in doing this project. So I usually break them in half because then they can use this part to make dots and this part to make dots. So you get a nice variety of dots. And I just show them how to make dots first. And I tell them, this has a lot to do with paintbrush thinking too, like from before. If you dip just a little bit of the Q-tip, then you're going to get a nice controlled dot. But if you dip the whole thing in, your dot's going to be kind of messy and juicy and gross and not very consistent, and it won't last very long. So we talk about the difference with that. The paper plate is for putting used Q-tips on, or Q-tips that they're going to come back to. This is not for painted Q-tips. Lots of kids forget because they get so excited about painting with a Q-tip. I know, it's weird, isn't it? You never know what's going to make them excited. I also tell them that if the Q-tip starts to get really worn out and gross like this, it's okay to just toss it, put it in the garbage, no big deal. And then I also tell them, again, that they're not mixing paint colors. Pick 3 or 4 different ones for the dots, and don't leave your Q-tip in here because that's just gross. And I also show them using the end of the Q-tip that you can make tinier dots, which is fun. Variety is good. And then I might just demonstrate how to use the dots in a way that I would do it. And I show them how far you can go without it running out of paint. Usually you can do 3 to 5 dots without it looking like it's drying up. I'm just always demonstrating on my own work so that they can see my thought process and that their thought process might be different, but just modeling that I'm always thinking about my art, changing my mind and changing my plan, right? And verbalizing that. So then on that 4th day, we're working on dots. Usually on the 5th day, people are finishing up with their lines. They're finishing up with their dots. We usually talk about, when to stop, what's enough, having a little bit of empty space, negative space as a visual rest for your eyes. And then we talk about the evaluation. And they've already done this once with the Zentangle landscape, but we'd still talk about it again. And we go over each part, what it means, how I would grade my own, what it means, what the teacher grades it, how many points it's worth. Student comment's important because I feel like they should be reflecting about their artwork. They can't just put no comment. And then I always put comments on there. So when you grade this, make sure that you do put comments, even if it's just, a sentence or two, because they do enjoy that. And then they just turn it in together like this. Some kids get really, upset because they can't staple it together, but I say no staples. You don't really need a paper clip as long as your name's on there and your code, your name and code are on the back of this one, you're going to be fine. So that is the Aboriginal project. Usually it takes about 5 class periods, maybe 6.